Welcome to the Porn Reboot Podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Emezi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode.
This episode is for any man who is saving it for marriage. This means you are a religious or religiously conservative man who wonders, JK, how do I control my sexual behavior when I have chosen or I am compelled to not have sex until I am in a committed relationship? I'm going to make this short because I believe I've spoken about this on previous podcasts, but over the years, I always get messages from men and even clients who say, JK, I'm really trying to control my behavior, but I have a girlfriend, or in some cases, you don't have a girlfriend, you don't have a partner, and I think that having sex before marriage is a sin, and this just makes it so much more challenging for me. Let's break this down into the categories of men so that you can identify yourself better if you find yourself in this situation. The first category are men who are not even in a relationship yet. You're in your 20s or your 30s. You haven't been in a relationship ever, or the last time you were in a relationship was very long ago. You're going through the process of rebooting, and you're ready to get into the dating reboot phase of your reboot. And as you do so, some of the shame from your behavior comes up. You're like, wow, I'm getting closer to the point where I might be physically intimate with a woman at some point. And I'm starting to ask myself these questions. I'm starting to go back to my religious upbringing and ask myself, hey, is physical sex the right thing to do? Am I ready for that? Now, if you find yourself in this category, you're worrying too much. And the reason I say this is, you have to focus on intimacy first. You're not even in a relationship first, much less in a relationship with the right person that you would consider spending the rest of your life with. Most men who are worrying about this end up using this as an excuse to not move forward in their dating life. It simply becomes an excuse. So my recommendation for you is that you focus on just dating. Focus on rebooting, controlling your sexual behavior, and developing intimacy with women. If you don't know how to do so, our Dating Reboot program is a program designed for men who are progressing through the stages of controlling their sexual behavior, who wants to learn how to date women from a point of view of intimacy. That means developing emotional closeness first before we go about the sexual aspect of it. The second category are men who are actually religious. So you're religious, whether you're Muslim or Christian, whatever it is, and you genuinely want to control your behavior. Oftentimes you're already in a relationship or you just got into a relationship, and this is heavily weighing on you because you've stepped away from pornography, and now the time you spend with your girlfriend, your partner, your fiance, whatever it is, usually it's not a fiance, it's a girlfriend, someone you're dating, y'all are starting to get hot and heavy. Y'all are starting to get physical, and it's bringing up a lot of guilt. Firstly, it is not my place to judge you morally, and it is not my place to tell you what to do with your religion. I'm simply speaking about the sexual behavior and how it might impact it. If you are going to be emotionally close to a woman to the point that y'all are already getting physical, y'all are making out, you're touching each other, and this is just changing your biochemistry. So a typical email I will get or message from a brother is, hey, I was spending time with my girlfriend today and, we got really close to having sex, but, it would be a sin and I don't want to do this. JK, what do I do? Because, it caused me to slip. When I went home, I just kept thinking about it. The feeling was so intense. Understand that biologically, if you put religion aside, biologically, you are designed to have sex with a woman. In fact, you were designed to start having children biologically way earlier than most of us are getting married right now. So understand that if we were living in another time, 200, 300 years ago, regardless of your religion, you would probably be getting married off around 18, 19, latest 20 maybe. and starting a family. But biologically, culture is not matching our biology. So we have men who are in their late 20s, you are in your 30s, you're in your mid-20s, and you are waiting for marriage without realizing that the religion was also working with your biology back in the day, but it no longer is working with our culture and your biology. So I want you to just understand this. I'm not telling you what to do. I want you to know why you feel this way and understand that whatever shame and guilt you feel is also based on logical reasoning, not just, oh, it's a sin. It was very different back in the day. You would probably be married and on your 4th, 5th, 10th kid by now. Who knows, depending on the religion that you were a part of. Now that you've understood this, or at least taken a moment to think about it, if you are serious about your religion, my suggestion is whomever you are dating, it is time for you to work on whatever reboot capital is necessary to move you to the point of physical intimacy. If it is building up more shame and guilt in you, if that shame and guilt is magnified because you are now slipping and relapsing to pornography because you do not have the ability to have sex because of all these things, these rules and these boundaries in front of you. If the thing that is stopping you from being with this person physically is your financial reboot capital, JK, I'm not in the right place financially to actually commit to this person. Set a goal and start working towards it. A realistic goal. Not, oh, I'm making $50,000 a year right now. I won't be ready for this till I make $200,000 a year. This is unrealistic and you're probably going to relapse and ruin the relationship in the process. Have a conversation with this person and move things forward. If emotionally you are not there yet, if you realize, man, I still have a lot of shame, I still have a lot of guilt, I probably need some therapy to deal with some other issues I have, I don't think I'm ready to be a good partner, then decide to either not waste this person's time if you're not ready to move forward, or have a conversation with the person and start doing the emotional work that is necessary to make this happen. Some of you, and many, actually not some, many men who are in this situation, interestingly enough, this person that they're in a relationship with is miles away from them. What's up with that? Long-distance relationships rarely work, statistically speaking. And it's even more challenging for them to work if you're not even physically there with that person. Whether you like it or not, there are other men who are around this person, who they can see, who they can feel, who they can touch, who they are also speaking to. And if it is a financial issue that is preventing you guys from being in the same place, my brother, you better start working on it. Now let's talk about the final category. The final category of men identify as religious, but in reality simply have pulled the conservative values from religion into their life. And religion and the concept of sin only shows up strategically. Basically, you're more or less a hypocrite. And this is very typical across most American men. So you were raised in a Christian family or a family that identifies as Christian, but you don't go to church. You don't pray. You don't pray except when shit hits the fan and you really need to. You don't pray or identify as religious till your political values or your conservative values are threatened. Then suddenly you start defending your religion, even though you do not actively participate. You do not tithe to the church. If you're a Muslim, you do not pray 5 times a day. In fact, when it comes to your sexual behavior, you have crossed the line many times. Shit hitting the fan includes the prospect of actually having sex with a woman. Some of y'all have had sex with escorts. Some of you have had sex when you are drunk. Some of you have done more unspeakable things. But the moment you meet a woman who changes your emotional state and you experience emotional closeness, also known as intimacy, with her, and you start thinking, man, this woman might be the one, that is a shit hitting the fan moment for you emotionally, because suddenly you want to wait till marriage. Sometimes, even worse, the woman herself tells you that she wants to wait for marriage, and you like that. You're like, whoa, this is an opportunity for me to actually live by my conservative values. She has appealed to your values. Oh, this is a good woman. This is a right woman. This is not like those women that I view on pornography. This is not like those women that I've hooked up with in the past. You know what? Maybe it's time for me to grow up and be a good religious boy. There are so many things wrong with this. First of all, the time it takes for you to adjust to these new values and accept them is usually not enough time for you to maintain the relationship that you're in. Secondly, this one's a rough one, but I'm just going to share it from my perspective. I have seen this with many clients. Most men who are triggered, and when I say triggered, I mean, let's change the word triggered to activated. Most men whose religious and conservative values are activated by a woman who says she wants to wait are usually speaking to a woman who was not waiting. She has typically had sex with many men already, and she's at a phase in her life where she is ready to settle down. And many American women who are ready to settle down, who are over the age of 26, statistically speaking, have had themselves a lot of fun. Now, there's nothing wrong with a woman choosing to be celibate until she's married after she's had a lot of sex. But the problem is the man who is trying to become more religious and who is trying to be a quote-unquote good boy is trying to activate something that he never had. In fact, both of you are in reality playing yourself. She's had a lot of sex, you've had some sex, but you've also watched a lot of pornography, and maybe you've hooked up a few times when you were drunk, or maybe you have solicited prostitutes in the past. Now, both of you come to this place where your culture and beliefs have told y'all that, hey, it is time for us to do the right thing. Most of these relationships do not last. Most of them end up being absolute disasters when they begin. And I'm happy to even do a series on all the things that I have learned for over a decade coaching men. Listen, I have coached men who reached out to me when they were in their teens and they were dating their high school sweetheart. I have coached these men when they came back to me when they had a relapse after they had their first kid, having married said high school and then college sweetheart. I have done the same with men who are in their late 20s to early 30s who met a woman who was 29, 30, and she was like, I'm saving it for marriage. And I was like, you know, she's like 30 years old. What was she saving for marriage? Like, let's be realistic. Oh, no, bro. You know, she's a good woman. She went through a lot with her ex and blah, 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 blah. I was like, does she drink alcohol? It's like, yeah. Has she partied in the past or gone to bars? Yeah, but she, this was a very long time ago and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, brother, can both of you just stop playing yourself? This is not the time to get religious about it. So for this final category, my suggestion to you is if you find a woman like that, it doesn't matter whether you guys are religious or not, because y'all have already crossed all those lines. It is far better for both of you to be honest about your sexual lives. In fact, most men who meet a woman like this who says, and it's usually the woman who triggers this in them, who activates this in them, who says, I want to wait till marriage. Most men in this situation will start hiding their behavior with pornography. The best thing you can do is just come clean with her so that she can come clean with you. And then both of y'all can decide where this relationship is going to go. If y'all decide that it's going to move forward, then I don't think you should worry about the sex. If y'all decide that, hey, we're going to be together forever, or we're going to try this life partner thing, all of this leads back to one very important thing, and that is the concept of monogamy in our society. I know I seem like I'm all over the place, but this is an important topic. I can't speak about relationships without speaking about the reality of monogamy today. Hundreds of years ago, originally, the word monogamy, and in the dictionary, the word monogamy still means to be with one person for the rest of your life. Women in almost every culture that was monogamous did not get remarried. If your husband died, that was that about that. In some cultures, they understood they would make space for this. So you could marry, quote unquote, marry your ex-husband. Let's say your husband died in war or died of illness. You could never get married again, except if you were marrying a family member. So you would marry your husband's brother. Now, he wasn't having sex with you. It wasn't marriage in the traditional sense. He was simply marrying you so that you could still stay within the family and so that your kids could survive and you could be a part of the household. But it wasn't a marriage where he was sexually active with you or had emotional intimacy with you. You simply became one of his wives or quote unquote a sister to him. Some cultures were like that, and it's important to understand history. However, that is not what monogamy is today. Somewhere along the line, it was bastardized by culture and by the church. Monogamy today has changed to being with one person until that relationship ends. I'll say it again. Monogamy has changed into being with one person until that relationship ends. And then you divorce that person, you break up with that person. However, you are still going out there to get married. But think about it. The vows still say, till death do us part. Till death do us part. Yet, even your parents were divorced. The meaning of monogamy has changed. Society in general is fooling itself. My suggestion to you is to open your eyes and to see what society is doing and decide for yourself how you are going to live your life, especially if you are in that final category. Society's version of monogamy today is simply serial monogamy. I do not think it is healthy to say or claim that you are going to be with someone for the rest of your life, but somewhere at the back of your mind, if they cheat on me, if they view pornography, if I find out something about their past, then it's over. That is not monogamy. What does this imply? It implies that you should take intimacy, emotional closeness to someone seriously. It implies that the emotional connection, the understanding of the humanity of this other person you're going to be with takes precedence over everything else. And I will urge every brother who considers himself to be religious to also, while respecting his God, his religion, the dogma, doctrine, and the spirituality of it, to also prioritize humanity, prioritize the humanness of another person. Because some of y'all be waiting for marriage and stressing yourself over it and feeling sinful while simultaneously relapsing and sending me messages and asking me about it. But you just watched tranny or shemale pornography the other night. What the fuck is wrong with you? This is not doing you any favors. This is only deepening your shame. So in summary, if you're worried about this, but you're not even married, my brother, stay where you are and work at learning how to build intimacy. Way easier to do this when you do not have a woman physically who's all rubbing up on you, who you're holding hands with, all of that stuff. So much easier. You're actually in the best position because you can focus on other areas of reboot capital without activating that side of you. For those of you who are religious, you're religious, you know the woman is religious and conservative as well, and you're actually saving it for marriage, then understand that you're already probably past the age at which these rules were set. So move forward, put a ring on it, grow up as a man, and take action. And for everybody else who is playing games, you're just fucking around. You either decide that you're going to go religious all the way and the woman is going to go religious all the way, or you admit that, hey, you know what? We've been having sex. Let's just stop pretending that this abstinence thing works for us. Have an honest conversation and go from there. I'm not telling you to have sex with each other. I'm just saying it's best for both of you to stop playing games, because chances are you're both just playing the game of being Christian and playing the game of being conservative. What is your actual behavior like? Some of you are trying to do this with a woman who is already divorced. What is wrong with you? Think about it. To summarize this, it probably helps to say this. I should have said this at the beginning of this episode. Where I stand with religion and spirituality, just as a reference for y'all. Firstly, I am not a religious person. I'm very clear on my stances. I do not believe in doctrine. I do not have a dogma. But I believe in God. I believe that something greater than me is guiding me. I am very grateful to whatever this presence is in my life, because it has taught me kindness and it has taught me compassion. I do not believe that any of my skills or my talents would have developed to the level that they have without something else guiding me. I do not believe that I would have escaped this addiction without something guiding me. And I know some of you are listening and you're, oh yeah, that's God. That is religion. That is not religion, motherfucker. I want to make it clear to you if you're thinking that. If you're going to send me a message, well, JK, you really fuck you. Like seriously, fuck you. If you start thinking, JK, that means you are religious. And I know that sounds harsh. You're like, bro, why are you coming at me like that? I'm just listening, man. I'm not really thinking that. If you are, the reason why I feel very strongly about this is because the thing that caused me and that caused many men, many men to go deeper into this behavior was religion. And I have seen many religious men, and this is also to give you hope. I have seen many religious men struggle with this behavior until they were willing to turn around and look at the force that was pushing them. What they thought was a spiritual force that was pushing them was not. It was something by man. It was rules made by man. And until they were willing to drop some of these structures, some of these beliefs they had been living by, not the belief in God, but some of the religious structures that they had been living by, they were not able to end their behavior. The moment they turned around and they questioned it, they were able to see God. They were able to commune with the divine without the framework of religion. And for the first time, that courage to drop religion, even if it was temporarily, allowed them to free themselves from shame and guilt. Gradually, many of them reintegrated religion back into their life. And that is why I am so violently against people who say, well, obviously you are a religious person because you mentioned that God guides you, and it really sounds like God is guiding you. It sounds like you believe that, so you must be religious. Because when you assume that, chances are you have not let go of the frameworks that brought you here. If you were listening to me and you listened over 20 minutes to this and you thought that, then you are not free of your behavior, because there's no reason for anybody who is not free of their behavior to have listened to me till this point. And I want you to question yourself. I want you to question, what is it about my religious beliefs that may be holding me back when it comes to ending this behavior? Seriously. Aside from that, I hope that any man who is not in a relationship and who has listened to this and who has that conflict about, should I have sex? I'm keeping it. I'm waiting for marriage. I hope this has given you some clarity.
I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot Group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is, if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.